forgot, obviously, being so undersized. Where do you see him kind of fitting in to Cowboys football long term?
Well, that's a pretty broad-based question. I would say the first thing that is going to become helpful for him is to add some added weight in the weight room. I mean, if you saw him walk in, you might say he's either one of our equipment managers or he's in one of the fraternities on campus. I mean, he just doesn't look like a muscle-yoked-up football player, but he's wiry strong. But I think some strength is certainly going to help him. He does have a future, though. I mean, he does. And so we're going to continue to work with him. And then during the course of this offseason, it'll be important that he gathers some extra weight, because those are some things that, you know, he's only going to be able to have so many plays out there, because that, you know, he's going to get thrown around by a couple 300-pounders at his weight. But the one thing he does do, and the one thing that will not change, is his attitude and his desire, and then his ability to make plays.
Coach, you talk about Utah State's defense and just how good of a unit this is that's allowed them to stay and play at a high level despite their injury issues at quarterback on the opposite side of the ball.
Right. And really they had a lot of players that had to be replaced off a great defensive unit last year. I really believe that's part of the culture that Coach Wells has continued there. Within their whole football team, they play physical. Their lines of scrimmage, both offensively and defense, are noted that way. And what you'll see is typically when teams are built like that, they're going to scrimmage each other in the spring and in fall camp, and so you develop that nature. And we're in the process of trying to do that. We deploy our guys in a different defensive fashion than they do. They have a scheme that is fairly complex, a lot of different looks, but they play at a very fast pace, and they have very few mental errors. And so that's a good combination, and it's going to pose a big, big challenge for us.
Craig, can you give us an update injury-wise of some of the guys that you know at least now that you may get back, or any of their statuses?
You know, the guys that we may get back, I don't know if there's a big difference. We'll know later on in the week. You know, Sonny was not able to make the trip, and that's going to be a day-to-day call. Jesse's the same way. We're in hopes to have them back, but they won't practice tonight, Robert. What was encouraging, though, was we came through that game we came through the game healthy, and that's the first time I can say that in a long, long time. So, but when we add these other guys back in, I can't tell you. When we get an update as the week goes along, we'll let you know.
Is Riley in the same boat too? Just to continue to evaluate, is he in the same boat?
You know, yeah, concussions are difficult for me to make comments on. They used to grade concussions. They don't grade concussions anymore. They just said he's concussed, and he'll go through the proper protocol before he's returned back to contact.
Coach, how nice was it to kind of get the interception monkey off of the back in that game last weekend?
Well, you brought it up, and I can tell you we almost got I was thinking we were going to get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, because while it seemed like an interception that was just off of maybe a tip and an overthrow, you saw our sideline just erupt. Coaches were running around dancing, players were on the field. We had gone so long. That's been the longest drought. And when you go watch us practice, and you're not allowed to watch practice, but you'll see, I mean, countless drops after countless drops. I mean, I want to tell those guys, go to the sporting goods store and buy a new set of hands. So it was great to see a couple interceptions there. And you know, the second one was a big-time play. And it was really heartwarming to see Finley as a guy who's, you know, been really challenged, come up with two big plays here.
You mentioning Finley, you said that he was going to play a lot more last week. How do you feel like he kind of stepped up to the challenge? He's a smaller guy, but he seems to be a pretty physical kid too.
He really is, and he does compete, and he plays at a high level. And as we're redefining our defense, and you see all kinds of different numbers in there, what we're finding is who are the guys that are really competitors? Who are going to play at a really fast level? Who's going to go out and just play really hard? You know, it was interesting. A player that we had, and I don't want to address NDSU a lot, but the New York Jets have decided to start Marcus Williams for the rest of the year. Marcus is, and the reason why, they say he plays hard. And we're gaining that nature, and so you're seeing different guys out there playing. And some of it is which guys are going to play and run Mach 1 and play as hard as they can. And Iran's one of them.
Rick, you also like, obviously we talk a lot about Brian, but I know Josh and even Omar got some carries. Now those are kind of your three guys. Are you pleased where, I know they can't learn everything all in 1 week, but pleased with how they're coming along and where they're at right now?
Well, we thought for the short amount of time that Josh had with us, he came in and competed well. I know he played against Colorado State some, and that was a late addition to the travel squad. He was out there playing during the course of the game. He had the big run and did a couple others, scored two touchdowns, I believe. So that was encouraging. I think a lot of it comes back to also during fall camp or double repping. While at times you think that may be a waste of time, here's a case in point of Seth Adine or Josh or Omar that at least going in and having an understanding of our base fundamentals and what we're doing within our system, they have that foundation there. Now, every game you tweak certain things, and so we're having to do that right now with them. But yeah, we're pleased with where we're at.
How do you feel?
Oftentimes in big numbers like Brian got, the offensive line kind of gets overlooked in that situation. Just talk about how you thought the offensive line played their first game really back-to-back that they played together.
I think that's a real big key to his success. I know on the 1-1 long run he got caught from behind, but I mean, he didn't have to break a tackle, and that's I think that's a real credit to the offensive line and Coach Fuchs and those guys. It's been good to at least have the same group. Before it was always like musical chairs, and we're still going to be shuffling some guys around, but they're all getting those reps in practice, and that certainly helped. And the other thing is we're starting to understand how to finish off blocks better, and guys getting downfield and players at the point of attack moving people. And some of that comes about because of familiarity, and some of it comes about because I think our guys are understanding we want them to play harder, we want them to play more physical, and that certainly was the case on Saturday night.
How do you feel like Colby has been kind of settling in, where I don't think he's had a turnover in the last 3 or so games? He seems to be getting more and more comfortable with what he's doing.
I really believe he's playing excellent. In Saturday's game, I believe, was by far his best game, although he's played well at times. But if you look at the number of throws he's had without an interception, his completion typically is right around 60%. And those numbers sometimes can be skewed a little bit because a lot of those throws have been downfield vertical throws where your percentages go down significantly. And so Kobe's done a good job of managing our offense, and I thought he played his best game, and a couple of the plays that he had exceeded my expectation. I thought his throw to Jake, and I don't know if it was in the first or second quarter, was a great throw. And there were many other throws where he was able to take the ball, throw it across the field, and throw it on a rope. And that shows his strength and his ability, and that's going to open up our playbook even more.
How disruptive, I guess, is this Utah State defense where they lead the conference in sacks, tackle for loss, interceptions, all those categories? What makes them so disruptive, I guess?
Well, a couple things. They have good players out there that are physical, and I know they have a couple young players, but they do have some older players as well, guys who have played a lot of meaningful reps. Their scheme is complicated, and so many times with a complex scheme, with guys that are able to play fast, with experienced players that are physical, those are good results. And they're well coached, and the numbers back that up, and we'll need to play our best game offensively to have a chance to win.